Wizards. The Celtics were going to send Malcolm Brogdon to the Clippers. And when they just couldn't get that deal finalized, they pivoted. And Washington started to talk again with Memphis. There had been some conversations. And Marcus Smart had been a player the Grizzlies had targeted for obvious reasons. You see how he fits with that Grizzlies roster.
Getting Kristaps Porziņģis to Boston was the definition of a roller coaster. So it was midday on Wednesday, and Shams tweets out that the Celtics are closing in on acquiring the former All-Star from the Wizards, the big man, averaging 23-9. The Celtics were closing in. Malcolm Brogdon, the sixth man of the year from the Celtics, he'd be going to the Clippers, and then Marcus Morris would be going to the Wizards, and there'd be picks involved, and yada, yada, yada. Typical three-team trade. So it was essentially done. The team just needed to iron out some details. And so we waited. And we waited. And then around 11 o'clock, we got a tweet saying the deal fell through. It was done. Apparently the Clippers pulled out because they, either didn't have time to get Malcolm Brogdon's health records, or they were concerned about his health in general. That part is not clear, but the deal was dead. And then 5 minutes later, after everybody was sad, 5 minutes later, Woj tweets that the Wizards are going to try to get Kristaps to Boston in the next hour, before the midnight deadline, when Kristaps can opt into the player option, and to make this incredible trade a reality for the Celtics. And so what did Brad do? He told the Clippers to go kick rocks. He kicked them out of the deal. And then, right before midnight, breaking news. The Celtics have acquired Kristaps Porziņģis. The deal was done, and I was ecstatic. But that tweet and the breaking news did not say who the Boston Celtics were giving up. So that part remained a mystery for a few minutes. But then that part came, and it said the Celtics will trade point guard Marcus Smart to the Memphis Grizzlies. And I literally jumped up. I danced. I was ecstatic. I could not believe it. I never in a million years would have thought that Brad Stevens would have traded Marcus Smart. Under any circumstances. I couldn't believe what I was reading. And I'm not a Marcus Smart fan, but I know a lot of Boston Celtic fans are, so I knew there'd be kind of a sad reaction. You're losing the guy that the longest tenured Celtic, been there almost 10 years, probably the leader, the heart and soul, the guy that dives for the balls, that does the dirty work. At least this was his image. I get it. I remember when Antoine Walker was traded. That devastated me. He was never going to be the second option on a championship team, but I was crushed and angry. So I get the reaction. But I was stunned at the anger. The anger of Celtic fans. How dare you? How dare you trade Marcus Smart? What a betrayal. This trade sucks. We're not winning anything. Anger, anger, anger. I'm crushed. I'm sad. This ruined my day. I was stunned. I was baffled. Genuinely baffled at this reaction. This is the reaction you get when Tom Brady leaves after 20 years, after winning 6 Super Bowls, and goes to Tampa Bay. This is the reaction, lesser degree, when Mookie Betts gets traded to the Dodgers. And quite frankly, this is the reaction almost that I had when Paul Pierce and Garnett were traded to the Nets about 10 years ago. But this reaction was over the top, and I thought it made Celtic fans look really bad. Yes, he was a leader, but the Celtics got an all-star center, a position they desperately needed, and 2 first-round picks for Marcus Smart, when you had 3 very, very starter-capable, fantastic guards. This trade was a heist by Brad. probably the best trade that I've seen as a Celtics fan since Kevin Garnett. And that was when it was Danny Ainge and McHale, and it was basically like when you take fair trades off 2K and you can basically do whatever the heck you want. This was the best trade since that. Brad Stevens' best work by a mile. But a lot of Celtic fans did not see this. Some did. Some that are thirsty to win an NBA championship and knew there needed to be change, but so many were crushed. And for me, I'm not a fan of Marcus Smart. For me, it was time for him to go. Probably last year, but I will certainly take this year. It was time for him to go, and let me tell you why. Number one, he overstepped Coach Joe Mazzulla, the rookie head coach, so much during the year. Smart called Mazzulla out in press conferences when he made mistakes. Smart would be the one that would go into the coach's chair when Mazzulla would call timeouts. There was videos of Smart drawing up plays before games, playoff games, for his teammates. And Smart would check himself into games without first going to Mazzulla. To me, it was disrespectful. It felt like sometimes Marcus Smart was the coach. And you cannot win an NBA championship with a role player being your head coach. It's something if it's a LeBron, a KD, heck, even Tatum if he ever did that. But not your, in my opinion, fourth option. Your role player. That really bothered me. It bothered me that Marcus Smart trash talked all the time, but he trash talked from like a superiority, like from above. He trash talked like Draymond Green. And Draymond Green won rings and is a better player. And Marcus Smart would act like this arrogance, like the Celtics have accomplished anything. It just absolutely drove me crazy. I mean, there is this mic'd up from this playoffs against the Miami Heat where Jimmy Butler and Marcus Smart are kind of going at it. And Jimmy, you know, he's got all that swag and he's talking trash to Smart. And Smart's response, which made me want to puke, was basically saying, well, we beat you the year before. Completely discounting the current series. And at that point, the Celtics were down and saying, we beat you the year before. Like, that drove me crazy. That to me was the problem with the Celtics. The entitlement. And for me, it started with Marcus Smart. Not Tatum, not Brown. To me, it was Smart. He had this, it just really, really bothered me. And then, you know, everybody's saying that this cool stat from Brad Stevens to all these fans crying, how could you? It was Marcus Smart came when they were a rebuilding team and they never missed the playoffs. And they refer to that 9 years. And that's true. Totally, 100%. The Celtics never missed the playoffs with Marcus Smart. And he was drafted with a lottery pick because the Celtics blew the year before. And apparently, according to Celtic fans, he was why they made the playoffs his rookie year. Well, I think a lot of fans are forgetting a certain somebody named Isaiah Thomas was traded midway through Marcus Smart's rookie year. Yeah, IT. Mr. Fourth Quarter. The guy that averaged almost 30 a game for the Celtics, that made second team All-NBA in his final season with the Celtics. Yeah, that guy. So Celtic fans are seeming to forget about that. It's like they're just rewriting everything. Wasn't Marcus Smart? Absolutely not. On those IT teams, Smart was probably the fourth or fifth best player. And then you went and got Hayward and Kyrie, and you drafted Brown and you drafted Tatum with the Brooklyn picks. And then they became the focal points. Smart was always the third or fourth option, except he did not see it that way. And that to me was also a problem. He shot too much. This playoffs alone, why was he taking the threes? That cool Derek White tip-in, why was he taking the shot? Against Philly, why was he taking the shot? That should be Jason. Smart was never able to embrace being a Rondo and 08 type point guard that would only focus on defense and getting his stars the ball. He tried to create way too much offense. And I think the perfect example of that is game 1 against the Heat this year. Marcus Smart had the most beautiful first half. 10 assists. He didn't really try to score. The Celtics were up double figures. And guess what happened? Second half, he reverted back to the Smart that I hate. Taking errant shots and flailing it up and flopping and getting mad, and the Celtics lost. And the rest of the season, he was trying to play hero ball, and it drove me crazy. Absolutely crazy. And look, this playoffs, there were some good moments. I don't want to discount that. Game 6 against Philly, probably the best game of his career. Celtics don't win that game without him. But it just absolutely, you can't have a guy like that thinking he's that much better than he is when you're trying to win an NBA championship. And the final major thing for me is it is time for Jason Tatum to take the final step into superstardom. And that, my friends, is leadership. It's Tatum's team. If it wasn't apparent before, it should be apparent now. Because I think a lot of people, and certainly the teammates, felt that Marcus Smart was the spiritual leader and face of the team, face of the image, whatever. If there wasn't a doubt before, it is Jason Tatum's team now, on the court, off the court. So Jason needs to be calling his teammates out. He needs to be the leader. He needs to hold his team accountable. He needs to do it for the Celtics to win, to take that final step. And for me, Smart was sort of holding him back because it was like a crutch. For Tatum, he just deferred to Smart to do all the leadership things, to say the things in the press conference or tell certain teammates they needed to play better. Now it's Tatum. No more crutch. It's Tatum's team now. And this Celtics team has now absolutely gone all in to win an NBA championship this year. And I am almost 100% certain the Celtics are not done. They could swing a massive point guard trade, get a DeJounte Murray, sort of replace Smart. And then they are absolutely the favorites to win it all. So the Celtics are going all in. It's now, right now, this season. And yeah, I know it was last season too, but now it's really this season. And look, if you're mad at my video for kind of going in on Smart, being disrespectful, whatever, do me a favor. YouTube Marcus Smart Game 7 2022, so the year before, like the last 5 minutes of the game. Google that, YouTube it, whatever, and watch it. That is the perfect example of why Marcus Smart needed to be traded. This was the best trade, and now the Celtics are in the driver's seat to finally get 18.